Welcome back to Classic Stories and Fairy Tales. I'm your host and narrator, Jerry Coble, and today we're not only going to be putting out our last episode for Season 1, but wrapping up The Life and Adventures of Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe with the final chapter, and that is Chapter 20, which is titled Fight Between Friday and a Bear. So I hope you enjoy. But never was a fight managed so heartily, and in such a surprising manner, as that which followed between Friday and the bear, which gave us all, though at first we were surprised and afraid for him, the greatest diversion imaginable. As the bear is a heavy, clumsy creature, and does not gallop as the wolf does, who is swift and light, so he has two particular qualities, which generally are the rule of his actions. First, as to men who are not his proper prey, he does not usually attempt them, except they first attack him unless he be excessively hungry, which it is probable might now be the case, the ground being covered with snow. If you do not meddle with him, he will not meddle with you, but then you must take care to be very civil to him and give him the road, for he is a very nice gentleman. He will not go a step out of his way for a prince. Nay, if you are really afraid, your best way is to look another way and keep going on. For sometimes if you stop and stand still and look steadfast at him, he takes it for an affront. But if you throw or toss anything at him, though it were but a bit of stick as big as your finger, he thinks himself abused, and sets all other business aside to pursue his revenge, and will have satisfaction in point of honor. That is his first quality. The next is, if he be once affronted, he will never leave you night or day till he has his revenge, but follows at a good round rate till he overtakes you. My man Friday had delivered our guide, and when we came up to him he was helping him off his horse, for the man was both hurt and frightened, when on a sudden we espied the bear come out of the wood, and a monstrous one it was, the biggest by far that I ever saw. We were all a little surprised when we saw him, but when Friday saw him, it was easy to see joy and courage in the fellow's countenance. "Oh, oh, oh!" says Friday 3 times, pointing to him. "Oh, master, you give me to leave. Me shake de hand with him. Me make you good laugh." I was surprised to see the fellow so well pleased. "You fool," says I, "he will eat you up." "Eat me up? Eat me up?" says Friday, twice over again. "Me eat him up. Me make you good laugh. You all stay here. Me show you good laugh." So down he sits and gets off his boots in a moment and puts on a pair of pumps, as we call the flat shoes they wear, and which he had in his pocket. Gives my other servant his horse, and with his gun away he flew, swift like the wind. The bear was walking softly on, and offered to meddle with nobody, till Friday coming pretty near, calls to him as if the bear could understand him. "Hark ye," says Friday, "me speak with you." We followed at a distance, for now being down on the Gascony side of the mountains, we were entered a vast forest, where the country was plain and pretty open, though it had many trees in it scattered here and there. Friday, who had, as we say, the heels of the bear, came up with him quickly, and took up a great stone and threw it at him, and it hit him just on the head, but did him no more harm than if he had thrown it against a wall. But it answered Friday's end, for the rogue was so void of fear that it did it purely to make the bear follow him, and show us some laugh, as he called it. As soon as the bear felt the blow and saw him, he turns about and comes after him, taking very long strides, and shuffling on at a strange rate, so as would have put a horse to a middling gallop. Away runs Friday, and takes his course as if he ran towards us for help. So we all resolved to fire at once upon the bear, and deliver my man, though I was angry at him for bringing the bear back upon us, when he was going about his own business another way. And especially I was angry that he had turned the bear upon us, and then ran away. And I called out, "You dog, is this your making us laugh? Come away, and take your horse, that we may shoot the creature." He heard me and cried out, "No shoot, no shoot, stand still, and you get much laugh." And as the nimble creature ran 2 feet for the bear's 1, he turned on a sudden on one side of us, and seeing a great oak tree fit for his purpose, he beckoned to us to follow, and doubling his pace, he got nimbly up the tree, laying his gun down upon the ground at about 5 or 6 yards from the bottom of the tree. The bear soon came to the tree, and we followed at a distance. The first thing he did, he stopped at the gun, smelt at it, but let it lie, and up he scrambles into the tree, climbing like a cat, though so monstrously heavy. I was amazed at the folly, as I thought it, of my man, who could not for my life see anything to laugh at, till seeing the bear get up the tree, we all rode near to him. When we came to the tree, there was Friday got out to the small end of a large branch, and the bear got about halfway to him. As soon as the bear got out to that part where the limb of the tree was weaker, "Ha!" says he to us, "now you see me teach the bear dance." So he began jumping and shaking the bough, at which the bear began to totter, but stood still, and began to look behind him, to see how he should get back. Then, indeed, we did laugh heartily, but Friday had not done with him by a great deal, when seeing him stand still, he called out to him again, as if he had supposed the bear could speak English. "What, you come no further? Pray you come further." So he left jumping and shaking the tree, and the bear, just as if he understood what he said, did come a little further. Then he began jumping again, and the bear stopped again. We thought now was a good time to knock him in the head, and called to Friday to stand still, and we should shoot the bear. But he cried out earnestly, "Oh, pray, oh, pray. No shoot, me shoot by and then." He would have said by and by. However, to shorten the story, Friday danced so much, and the bear stood so ticklish, that we had laughing enough, but still could not imagine what the fellow would do. For first we thought he depended upon shaking the bear off, and we found that the bear was too cunning for that too, for he would not go out far enough to be thrown down, but clung fast with his great broad claws and feet, so that we could not imagine what would be the end of it, and what the jest would be at last. But Friday put us out of doubt quickly, for seeing the bear cling fast to the bough, and that he would not be persuaded to come any further. "Well, well," says Friday, "you no come further, me go. You no come to me come to you." And upon this he went out to the smaller end, where it would bend with his weight, and gently let himself down by it, sliding down the bough till he came near enough to jump down on his feet, and away he ran to his gun, took it up, and stood still. "Well," said I to him, "Friday, what will you do now? Why don't you shoot him?" "No shoot," says Friday, "no yet. Me shoot now, me no kill. Me stay. Give you one more laugh." And indeed so he did, for when the bear saw his enemy gone, he came back from the bough where he stood, but did it very cautiously, looking behind him every step, and coming backward till he got into the body of the tree. Then, with the same hinder end foremost, he came down the tree, grasping it with his claws, and moving 1 foot at a time very leisurely. At this juncture, and just before he could set his hind foot on the ground, Friday stepped up close to him, clapped the muzzle of his piece into his ear, and shot him dead. Then the rogue turned about to see if we did not laugh, and when he saw we were pleased by our looks, he began to laugh very loud. "So we kill bear in my country," says Friday. "So you kill them?" says I. "Why, you have no guns." "No," says he, "no gun, but shoot great much long arrow." This was a good diversion to us, but we were still in a wild place, and our guide very much hurt, and what to do we hardly knew. The howling of wolves ran much in my head, and indeed, except the noise I once heard on the shore of Africa, of which I have said something already, I never heard anything that filled me with so much horror. These things and the approach of night called us off, or else, as Friday would have had us, we should certainly have taken the skin of this monstrous creature off, which was worth saving. But we had near 3 leagues to go, and our guide hastened us, so we left him and went forward on our journey. The ground was still covered with snow, though not so deep and dangerous as on the mountains, and the ravenous creatures, as we heard afterwards, were come down into the forest and plain country, pressed by hunger, to seek for food, and had done a great deal of mischief in the villages, where they surprised the country people, killed a great many of their sheep and horses, and some people too. We had one dangerous place to pass, and our guide told us if there were more wolves in the country, we should find them there. And this was a small plain, surrounded with woods on every side, and a long, narrow defile, or lane, which we were to pass to get through the wood, and then we should come to the village where we were to lodge. It was within half an hour of sunset when we entered the wood, and a little after sunset when we came into the plain. We met with nothing in the first wood, except that in a little plain within the woods, which was not above 2 furlongs over, we saw 5 great wolves cross the road, full speed, one after another, as if they had been in chase of some prey and had it in view. They took no notice of us and were gone out of sight in a few moments. Upon this, our guide, who by the way was but a faint-hearted fellow, bid us keep in a ready posture, for he believed there were more wolves a-coming. We kept our arms ready and our eyes about us, but we saw no more wolves till we came through that wood, which was near half a league, and entered the plain. As soon as we came into the plain, we had occasion enough to look about us. The first object we met with was a dead horse, that is to say, a poor horse which the wolves had killed, and at least a dozen of them at work. We could not say eating him, but picking his bones rather, for they had eaten up all the flesh before. We did not think fit to disturb them at their feast, neither did they take much notice of us. Friday would have let fly at them, but I would not suffer him by any means, for I found we were like to have more business upon our hands than we were aware of. We had not gone half over the plain when we began to hear the wolves howl in the wood on our left in a frightful manner, and presently, after we saw about 100 coming on directly towards us, all in a body, and most of them in a line, as regularly as an army drawn up by experienced officers. I scarce knew in what manner to receive them, but found to draw ourselves in close line was the only way, so we formed in a moment. But that we might not have too much interval, I ordered that only every other man should fire, and that the others who had not fired should stand ready to give them a second volley immediately if they continued to advance upon us, and then that those that had fired at first should not pretend to load their fuses again, but stand ready, every one with a pistol, for we were all armed with a fusee and a pair of pistols each man. So we were by this method able to fire 6 volleys, half of us at a time. However, at present we had no necessity, for upon firing the first volley, the enemy made a full stop, being terrified as well with the noise as with the fire. 4 of them, being shot in the head, dropped. Several others were wounded and went bleeding off, as we could see by the snow. I found they stopped, but did not immediately retreat, whereupon, remembering that I had been told that the forest creatures were terrified at the voice of a man, I caused all the company to halloo as loud as they could, and I found the notion not altogether mistaken, for upon our shout they began to retire and turn about. I then ordered a second volley to be fired in their rear, which put them to gallop, and away they went to the woods. This gave us leisure to charge our pieces again, and that we might lose no time, we kept going. But we had but little more than loaded our fusees, and put ourselves in readiness, when we heard a terrible noise in the same wood on our left, only that it was further onward, the same way we were to go. The night was coming on, and the light began to be dusky, which made it worse on our side, but the noise increasing, we could easily perceive that it was the howling and yelling of the hellish creatures, and on a sudden we perceived 3 troops of wolves, one on our left, one behind us, and one in our front, so that we seemed to be surrounded with them. However, as they did not fall upon us, we kept our way forward, as fast as we could make our horses go, which, the way being very rough, was only a good hard trot. In this manner we came in view of the entrance of a wood, through which we were to pass, at the further side of the plain, but we were greatly surprised when, coming near the lane or pass, we saw a confused number of wolves standing just at the entrance. On a sudden, at another opening of the wood, we heard the noise of a gun, and looking that way, out rushed a horse with a saddle and bridle on him, flying like the wind, and 16 or 17 wolves after him, full speed. The horse had the advantage of them, but as we supposed that he could not hold it at that rate, we doubted not but they would get up with him at last. No question but they did. But here we had a most horrible sight, for riding up to the entrance where the horse came out, we found the carcass of another horse and of 2 men, devoured by the ravenous creatures, and one of the men was no doubt the same who we heard fire the gun, for there lay a gun just by him fired off. But as to the man, his head and the upper part of his body was eaten up. This filled us with horror, and we knew not what course to take, but the creatures resolved us soon, for they gathered about us presently, in hopes of prey, and I verily believe there were 300 of them. It happened very much to our advantage that at the entrance into the wood, but a little way from it, there lay some large timbered trees, which had been cut down the summer before, and I suppose lay there for carriage. I drew my little troop in among these trees, and placing ourselves in a line behind one long tree, I advise them all to alight